Mitt Romney making himself to face the Republican Party's opposition to Donald Trump. He came out days ago trying to persuade fellow Republicans to prevent Trump from becoming the nominee. Listen.
I sat there and watched Donald Trump, and I said, look, someone's got to say something. I didn't talk to anybody and say, I'm going to do a speech. You got some ideas? This is something I did on my own because I care very deeply about the country.
But the question today is whether Romney's making a difference. Howard Kurtz, Fox News media analyst, host of Media Buzz. Howie, good morning to you.
Good morning,
I think that's the fundamental question. Let's get to it in a moment. This is what you write today. It's not that they disagree that Mitt called Donald a fraud, a phony, a bully, a misogynist, and a bad businessman. No. The dissent can be summed up like so. Is that all you've got, dude?
Some Republican Party officials, Bill, resent what Mitt Romney has done. They feel it's too little, it's too late. He's not endorsing anybody. He's not putting himself into the ring. He's not offering an alternative. He's just giving a speech, and they are not happy about that.
Okay, so Trump came out on Saturday night, and he brought the topic up and said this.
I said, you cannot let Mitt Romney in this race. He's a choker. And you know, through sports, I can tell you, I have some great sportsmen right here. When you see somebody choke, generally speaking, once a choker, always a choker. Now, Mitt Romney gave that election away. That was an election against a failed president that should have been easily won.
And then he went on to talk about how Barack Obama was working the media, went on Letterman, and went on all the late talk shows. I think it comes back to the fundamental question, Howard. Do we have evidence that Romney's public disapproval is making a difference?
I think it actually might be helping Donald Trump because it's all too easy for Trump to recall how Romney begged him for an endorsement when he was becoming the nominee in 2012, and for television to play clips of all the wonderful things that Mitt Romney said about Donald Trump at that time. And look, you mentioned the poll in Michigan tomorrow, and Michigan is where Mitt Romney grew up. His father was governor and an auto company executive. Doesn't seem to be slowing Donald Trump down. He is so associated with being a billionaire venture capitalist who was out of touch with the 47% of Americans, as he put it, that I think, you know, it kind of crystallizes Trump's running against the establishment, and here's Romney as the face of the establishment. I just don't think it has been effective at all.
And all that whole point about Leno, et cetera, and David Letterman, that's a media question, too, that I think you'll analyze as we move forward over the coming months. Quickly on Marco Rubio. There are a lot of theories, Howie. But it's difficult to put your finger on the... He won Puerto Rico on Sunday. We should have mentioned that a moment ago. So that's two contests, right? The Minnesota caucus and now Puerto Rico. What accounts for Rubio's disappearance this past weekend in those contests we watch?
I think a lot of people who had been inclined to like Marco Rubio were turned off by the fact that he got down into the mud pit with Donald Trump, that he became a game of insults. That didn't seem to be the true, authentic Marco Rubio. All the third-place finishes have hurt him, and somehow he became the establishment candidate, a guy who ran with Tea Party support and took on Charlie Crist in Florida a few years ago, is the guy who the establishment wanted to coalesce around because they don't like Ted Cruz personally, and they certainly don't have any great love for Donald Trump. This year, that's not a label that you want. Unfortunately, it's one that Rubio has been saddled with.
So in Florida, when we get there a week from tomorrow, watch this story now, right? Watch to see whether or not Cruz and Rubio cancel one another out. And if they do, that gives Trump the opportunity to drive through that lane. I'll give you the last word. Go.
If Marco Rubio can't win his home state, and he's certainly far behind, that is the end of his campaign, in my view. And even if he does win Florida, that's kind of the minimal requirement for a presidential candidate. So he is really stalled right now, and we see that in all of these disappointing finishes.
I think on that point, Cruz would agree from Texas. Kasich would agree from Ohio. Thank you, Howie. Howard Kurtz there in Washington. Good to have you as well. Martha.